Hi guys, we're here to give you a walkthrough of the 2021 Premier 30RI. Starting at the front of this unit, you have your typical A-frame hitching. Your ball will go under here from your tow vehicle. This is your locking mechanism right here. That has to be down, and you put a pin through it to secure it before you travel with the unit. Otherwise, it can be secured to the vehicle. You've got your power that controls all the lighting from the tow vehicle for brake lights, turn signals, and as well as the electric brakes. You've got your chains here. Again, cross those chains over when you're connecting to the tow vehicle. And then the last thing is your brake control, or your brake emergency brake switch. So this connects to your vehicle independently of the chains, and its purpose is to engage the brakes. If the tow vehicle ever separated from the trailer, this would pull in, and there's a pin under there that would use the battery power on the unit to engage the electric brakes to bring it to a stop. So it's a safety device. You have to have a battery on board and charged when you're towing for that purpose, and otherwise it's not safe to travel without that, because it wouldn't be able to engage the brakes if needed. You have a power front jack here with a light, so you switch the light on here. This will be for nighttime hitching or unhooking, and then you've got your extend to put the jack out, or retract to bring the jack in. Following behind that, we have the propane tanks. You've got two 30-pound tanks on this RV. Take the cover off or flip up the top to access them. There's a valve switch here that you switch to side what tank you want it to be on. We always recommend that you run one tank at a time, so that if you have this one running and it's empty, you still have a full tank to switch over while you fill this one back up. So run one at a time. To open up the valves, just like your barbecue at home, just turn the valve all the way open or all the way closed in either case. Behind that, we have the battery. That's onboard new battery for this unit with a full charge, and it's ready to go. And again, just a reminder that you need a charged battery on the unit when towing for safety purposes. Front fiberglass cap, really nice looking cap. Great front lights on it that light up when you're plugged in, or your driving lights right along here on the LEDs. And there's another one, I believe, at the top, at the very top there, for driving and at nighttime. If you have a portable solar panel, this is where you plug it in. That would be there to trickle charge the battery if you're dry camping. So it's just a plug there. You take your solar panel, have it out during the day, plug it in there, and it'll trickle charge the battery. Kind of keep it topped up. One thing we always go over with units or RVs is your caulking and your maintenance. So every joint around the outside of a trailer is caulked with RV style caulking. It goes all along here, around the doors, the roof, along the edges, and along the slide mechanism, slide box. You have to make sure you check that caulking on a regular basis. We say every 3 to 6 months for sure. Do a visual inspection of all your caulking and make sure that it's not dried out and cracked. If it is, it would let moisture in, and that can become a problem. So you want to make sure, if it is cracked, that you take that caulking off, clean the area, and then put a new bead of RV style caulking on the unit. Otherwise, again, you'll have potential moisture issues. The roof on this unit is made of rubber membrane, like most RVs, and it is it's soft and pliable at the start. Over time, it can become a little dry and potentially a little bit brittle if you don't treat it. So there is a conditioning and cleaner that you need to use on your roof every 6 months. So we say in the spring and fall, if you do that, it'll maintain your roof for a long time. One is a cleaner, just cleans all the debris and anything, sap or anything that might be on it, and the other one is the conditioner, which keeps the rubber soft and pliable. So you make sure you do those two maintenance things: your caulking checks and replacement of caulking, and your roof conditioning and cleaning, and then that'll maintain the RV for quite a long time. The front door, or the front compartment on this, is, you'll see there's a pretty large door. It's the same size on the other side in here, and it's got a magnet to hold it. You'll see that there's lots of storage in there. It goes all the way through. Your power cable is typically stored in that area, and there's one on the other side. there. You also have your hookups for everything in this area. So if you can look in here, there's a battery disconnect at the very top. When you have the battery disconnect in the on position, it's turning the power off to the unit from the battery. It will save the life of the battery if you're going to store your unit for a period of time where it's not plugged in, and that will so that you don't drain your battery down. So if you're over the winter time, if you're going to store your unit outside in the cold, we say take your battery, disconnect it and take it inside. But if you're in a storage unit where it's heated or whatever, you don't want to take your battery off, then we do say turn that battery disconnect on so that it doesn't drain the battery from the clocks and things inside that would drain the battery over a period of time. Below that, you'll see the KTB system. So that's new to Keystone the last couple of years, where it's all set up to accept satellite or cable television inputs and then deal with sending the signal to where the TVs are located for your receivers and stuff. So it's pretty close to being plug and play, where if you have a satellite, you should be able to plug it right in, the cable into there, and then it should run the system properly. Below that, you've got all your different connections for water. Your fresh water tank input is right here. So that's you just take your hose, you fill it up until it's full, and then put the cap back on it. That is not, there's no way to connect your hose to there. It's not meant to be connected. With fresh water on board, always make sure that you're putting clean water in there, and you don't leave water in there for a period of time where it becomes stagnant and obviously have a potential health problem. So you got to make sure that that's clean water. To use the fresh water tank, you run your electric water pump on the inside of the unit, and that pressurizes the plumbing from that water tank, and then you can have free running water throughout the unit off of that water pump. Most times when you're camping, you're in a campsite, you're going to want to use the city water connection. So that's this one here. So your hose goes in there and it tightens on this swiveling connection there. That is a plastic fitting, so you don't want to over tighten that, where like with a pair of pliers or anything, it should be hand tightened, and then if there's a little bit of drip, try and tighten a little bit more. That will run off the campground pressure and pressurize the unit for your water system. And if in that case, you don't really need to use your water pump in it. So fresh water, you run the campground pressure. You don't need your water pump. If you're running from city water, sorry. But if you're running the fresh water, you do need to use a water pump. So just something to remember. The cap back on that. This is your tank flush. So when it's time to maybe want to clean out your black and gray tanks, you put connect your hose in there, and that drives the water into the tank itself. You always got to remember that you don't want to leave your tank valves closed when you're doing this. You want them open and going through to the septic system, because if you fill that tank up, it could fill and overload the system into the unit. So you got to make sure that that's not going to be a problem there. On the side here, you've got your switches for your leveling or your stabilizers, power stabilizers, these switches right here. So you put them down, and that one is the back one, the bottom one is the back one, and the top one here is the front one, and they go down and out, and then they're just the stabilizers at the bottom of the unit. So they're just meant for stabilization. They're not meant to hold the weight of the unit. So you just put them down, get them snug, and that just stops the rocking of the unit when you're moving around inside. If you try and raise the unit with those, a couple of things are going to happen. You're going to damage them because they're not designed for that kind of weight, and you're also going to potentially put a little bit of a bow in your frame of the trailer, so your doors won't shut, that kind of stuff. So things that might not line up correctly. So if they're just for stabilization, so down, snug them up, and then move on, because they're not designed for weight. So your switches are there for that, and then at the bottom here you've got a little access port where you can pass all your satellite cable lines or your water lines and stuff into there. So just keeps it all nice and neat instead of it sticking out the side of the unit. Moving down a little farther, we got an outside shower. This runs off your water system inside. It does have hot and cold running water if you are running your hot water tank. So that's the shower there. It's just a little nozzle you bring out, and you can hose off yourself or your kids or your dog, whatever you wanted to use it for. little farther down, you've got the back side of where your fridge is. So this is the inlet outlet for your fridge. Sometimes you'll see a little moisture coming out of here, and that's perfectly fine because it's just condensation on the back side of the fridge, so don't be alarmed. That's where that is. This here is the outlet or exhaust for your furnace. Your furnace is driven off of propane. So this, and when it does run, it does get pretty hot here. So just watch yourself if you're running your furnace touching that. The other thing is that when you are ready to use your furnace, just do a visual inspection of that. Make sure there's no nothing blocking that, either a nest of wasps or anything like that. Just make sure that that's clear. On the bottom side of the front here, we've got your two outlets for your septic system. So you've got a black and a gray on this side with the color-coded handles, so black and gray handles. And then down farther along the unit, you've got a second outlet, where there's another second gray. So you're going to need to connect both of these up to your septic system through your sewer hose. So you're going to need two outlets here into a Y and then into one down to wherever your campground or wherever septic system is. So just remember that. All you do with those to evacuate your tanks is to hook up your hose, make sure it's connected to the septic system, and then pull one of those valves depending on which one you want to flush out. Now, we always say do your black first, followed by your gray, because though they are both dirty water or dirty tanks, you're going to want the gray to flush down the black, because the gray water is your sinks and showers, where the black tank is your toilet. So it's just keeps it a little bit cleaner. And then also, when you are connected to the septic system and you're all hooked up, you don't want to leave those valves open. You want to make sure that those valves are closed until you're ready to empty your tanks. If you leave them open, you're going to potentially let the gases from the septic system into your unit, and that can be a health issue. So just make sure you keep them closed until you're ready to dump them, and then you should be good to go. So moving down, this is one of your slides. You got two slides on this unit, and you want to make sure you check your caulking on a regular basis just to make sure that they're sealing correctly. This rubber sealant right here, this rubber thing around the slide here, that seals it up from the outside. So you want to make sure that that's not folded over when your slide is out. And then you also use a silicone spray on a regular basis just to keep that pliable. Otherwise, again, rubber would dry out over time and potentially not seal the slide box correctly. So moving down this side, come to the back. You've got your power inlet. Now this is a 50 amp unit, so you're going to need 50 amps to run everything properly in the unit. You can run most of the things on 30 if you end up having a 30 amp site, but you're going to need an adapter that goes from the 50 down to 30 to run that. So that's something to keep in mind. And otherwise, you should be go. 15 amps will not run your air conditioner typically. So just try and book your 50 amp site. If 30, then you can get the adapter to make sure that works. Around the back, you've got your spare tire, your brake lights, your turn signal lights, and if you ever wanted to move up and buy a rear backup camera, there's a plug-and-play adapter plate there. So the system is a camera that gets installed there, and then a TV or a monitor that goes in your truck that you can see what's behind your trailer, and it runs all the time, whether you're traveling down the road or ready to pick up. So it's a nice feature to have if you ever wanted to move to that. Come around this side, this is your kitchen slide. Right in behind this door is your camp kitchen. Make sure I turn it open. Open her up, and you've got a little TV on the top, and then your little bar fridge there for storing drinks or whatever outside. Got a little cabinet here for storage, and then a little table to do some things on. But it's a nice little camp kitchen, especially with the TV in that area. Make sure you keep this door closed if it does rain, because if it does start raining, it's not designed to keep rainwater outside of that by itself. It needs to be closed to do that. So if it does start raining, just close that up. Make sure you don't get water coming into the unit that way. Outside speakers on this unit, all controlled inside with the stereo. Outside plugs, again, you're going to need to be plugged into power for this. These aren't going to run off your battery. And then your water heater is located here. Your water heater is electric and propane. It will run on either or both at the same time, depending on what you have switched on the panel inside. You got to make sure that before you fire up your water heater that you do have water in the system. If you try and ignite the tank without any water in it, you could damage the tank and potentially have to have it replaced. So just be careful of that. Make sure there's water in there. The stairs on this unit are the new style stairs, which have been, they're really good stairs, nice and sturdy, a little sturdier than the older style ones. These arms here pivot up and down with a little push pin on the side, depending on the level of the ground or how far off the ground you need them to be. So they're adjustable from that perspective. There's a couple of things to watch for on these stairs. One is you want to make sure that these are down and level, because if they're not all the way down and you try and open or close your door, you potentially could damage the bottom of your door trying to swing it against that. And then the other thing to remember is that as great as these stairs are, you want to clean them off, hose them down, clean them off before you want to put them up into the unit for traveling, because anything that's on these stairs is going to go in the unit when you tip it up. So if they were dirty and you tipped it up like this and you clicked it in place to hold it for the trip, turn that down, then all that dirt or water or whatever is going to go right inside the units, and you'll have a mess potentially when you get to wherever you're going. So just remember to try and get them cleaned off before you do that, and it'll save you a little grief. To release them, you just turn this sideways, it unlocks here, and then when you want it to lock in place, you just keep that straight down. So and then finally, on the outside of the unit, we do have power awning controlled inside. It is power operated from extending and retracting, as well as there's an LED light strip underneath it. So with awnings, a couple of things to remember are that it's not made for rain. So if it's starting to rain out, you really need to put your awning away. And they're not made for any kind of more than a breeze kind of strong wind. In either case, water or a strong wind will damage the awning, and then you'd probably have to replace the whole thing. So what we say is they're just really made for sun. So if it's a nice sunny day, have them out. If it gets too breezy, put it in, and if it's raining, put it in. Now don't leave your unit for any period of time with the awning out, because you could come back and it could be damaged because you might have a rainstorm, windstorm come up. So something to remember there. And then finally, on the outside, you've got your other connection or your other compartment door from the other side, and it's a nice big wide opening that they've come up with on the Premiers here in the last year or so. So it's a nice feature. Okay guys, so that's the walk around of the outside of the unit. So let's go inside. Welcome to the inside of the 2021 Premier 30 Ri. We're going to go over quite a few things in here, but we're going to start with the panel. So the panel that controls most of the functions is over here on the wall by your bedroom door. It will start at the top, and if you want to know your levels of your battery, your tanks, black and gray, you go through here. So if you click the battery, you'll see that right now it says 2/3 charge. So that will be where the levels here. So freshwater tank is empty, black is empty, and then so on. So when you want to worry about your, know how full your tanks are, you go through these buttons until you see 2/3 are full on those, and then it's time to start thinking about dumping those gray and black tanks. Below that, you've got your switching for your water heater. So you can run the water heater on gas, which is propane. You can run it on electric, or you can run it on both. Again, the first thing you want to, before you switch those on, is to make sure there's water in the tank. Now, if you're going to run on gas, you need to have your propane filled. It needs to be on the front of the trailer, and then the lines have to have propane in them. Sometimes air gets trapped in the line. So one thing I typically do when I go camping is go to the burner on the cooktop and turn it on and try to ignite one until it finally purges the system of the air that might be in the line. And then once you've done that, you should be able to, everything else should work well. So you'd click that on to gas. It will try and attempt to go on gas 3 times, and then when it's doesn't have propane, it'll throw a fault up here to say that there's an issue there. So watch for that. You can, when you're plugged in to shore power or at the campground, you use your electric water heater. And again, you can run them both, but we kind of say when you get to your campsite, if you want hot water, use gas to get it heated up quickly, and then switch it over to electric and just maintain on electric. Following over here, we have the water pump. So this water pump is for the fresh water tank, which we explained outside. You need to have water in the tank for it to actually pressurize the system, and then you turn it on, you'll hear a whirring sound, and as it pressurizes the plumbing with the water that's in the tank. And once it gets pressure up to where running water will come through your taps and everything, it'll stop running until you actually turn a tap on, and then it'll kick in again and start running. But you don't need to run that when you're doing fresh water or your city water connection. You just need it on the fresh water tank. City water runs off the pressure from the tap itself. Your awning outside is your port. This is where you can turn the light on and off. So if you want the LED light strip on underneath, that's the switch there. And then this is your main ceiling lights in the unit. I'll turn those on and off. I'm not sure if you can see that on the camera, but they control all the main lights here in the unit. Now, each one of these lights, like this one up here, they're all independently controllable. So you can have them on, some on and off, but they're all main switches here. The two slide boxes in this unit are controlled here. There's slide 1 and slide 2. If you want to bring a slide in, you press the in up for the in, which will pull that slide into the unit, and then the opposite going out to push down. Now you want to have your slides all the way in or all the way out. You don't want to have them halfway and half out because they're not sealing correctly, and they're not set up and structurally sound at that point. So you can, if you're traveling, you just need to open it a couple of feet. That's fine while you're on the side of the road or in a parking lot. But once you get to your campsite, all the way in or all the way out. The awning itself is controlled with this one here, where it's out to extend and down, I think down to retract. So, and then with the awning, you put kind of the same thing. You can roll it out halfway. It has all kinds of different ways you can have your awning set. But it's all the way out when it comes down, and the little flap at the end comes off and flips down. That's the full out for the awning, so that's when you stop. So that's your panel. While we're down in this area, we're also going to talk about your HVAC, or your heating and cooling. So this one here is the panel for that. So you've got a few different modes. So you hit the mode button here to go to fan, cool, or furnace, and then off. So if I want the fan on, I go to the fan, it'll say fan on, and then I have settings for, with this button here, how much fan I want to run. So if I leave it there, the fan will kick on and run at that speed. And then if I want to go from fan over to cool, then I can also control the auto or fan on itself, depending on if I want the fan to stay on or cool, or just do auto. We typically say just run auto. And then cool, and then set your temperature. So if I want it to be 60 in here, I'd set the temperature to 60, but typically you're going to try to probably run it around, 68 on a hot day or something. It's not designed to bring your unit really down to 60 unless if on a super hot day, it'll bring it down to a normal, comfortable temperature. And then if I want to run over and onto furnace, I go over to furnace, and then I set the temperature on the furnace there too, and it will run to get the temperature of what you want, and then turn itself off. So that's the main way to control your cooling, heating, and fan. Now, when you're switching between these things, you kind of want to give it a minute or two to make it cycle through itself. The systems may not turn on or turn off right away. They kind of need time to cycle. So specifically with the furnace, when I go and turn that furnace to off, it's going to take a couple of minutes to keep cycling air through the furnace because it's assuming it was hot, and then it'll shut off. So give it a minute or two before you do that. So that's how you control the heating, cooling, and fan in the unit. Going in this end, while we're here, we'll talk about the bedroom. So this is your master bedroom, full walk-around bed. You've got lights under here that are push on and off, and then you got the switch here for the main lights in the thing. And again, they are controlled independently if you want to. There's plugs on each side of the bed there with, I believe, USB power chargers as well. And you've got your little slot here for if you wanted to put a basket underneath for your laundry. So you can put your laundry down in there. And then your wardrobes on either side. Now we're going to go from here into the bathroom. The bathroom has two ways to come in, one from the bedroom and one from the main area, so you can have this sliding door over and be in here, and somebody else can still be using the bathroom through the other entrance, which is a good feature. It's a pretty big bathroom, decent counter space, and then you've got the sliding shower door here where it opens up like a clamshell, and you've got lots of room to move around in there. The light switch for in here is on there, and there's a fan in the ceiling over the shower that you can turn on manually at the switch there. So that's your washroom. We'll move back into the rest of the unit. We'll start with the kitchen. In the kitchen, you're going to see this black panel. This is your fuse box. So you've got all the power runs through this box. So if we look at it here, you've got your main breakers for when you're plugged in, and then you've got your push fuses here for the different areas of the unit. Now, these can flip off if you're running too much power, say a toaster and a hairdryer or something, that at the same time you might one of these might trip. Now you can just reset it, but if it does keep tripping, then maybe there's another problem that needs to be looked at. And on these ones down here, there's an LED light that goes in behind here. So if one of these goes out, the light lights up, and it'll tell you which one is the problem, and then you just pull that fuse out, replace it with an identical fuse, and then you're good to go typically. Again, if they do continue to burn or go out, then maybe there's another electrical problem that needs to be looked at. And then if you see this glass here, if they do go out, you'll be able to see that a red light in there saying that there's a problem with the fuse. Lots of storage in this area, and then you've got your cooktop. Your cooktop is a glass cover for it, which is good because it adds counter space. Flip it up and out of the way. And then to operate your cooktop, you have 3 burners here, 3 knobs. You turn one over to light, which is the flame setting, and then you click this, and that will start trying to ignite all 3 at the same time, plus the oven itself. So that's how you ignite everything, and you just keep turning that until you see a flame start in whichever burner you're trying to do, and then you're good to go. And then you set your temperature that you want, and then turn it off when you're done. The oven itself is the same sort of a knob where you set it over to ignite, click it in here, make sure you see it ignite in there, and then set your temperature of what you want the oven to reach, and then it'll go from there. And then when you're done, you turn it off. There's lights here for the oven where they light up along here, and then the bottom one is both, and then the light in the oven as well. So that's your range. Above your range, you've got your range hood, and you've got fan, and you've got light. That fan will exhaust to the outside, and the microwave here is a residential style microwave. It operates like any typical microwave normally does. So set your time and your power levels, and it operates correctly. Big island on this one with cover over the farmhouse style stainless steel sink. So big sink there, lots of space and lots of storage under here. You also have a little power connection there where we've got some plugs and some USBs. It's a nice little feature because it's when you need it, it's up, and then when you're done with it, you push in the button, put it away, and then it disappears for you. Keep moving down the unit, we've got the big LCD TV across from the reclining chairs, which is awesome for watching TV. Below that, you've got your fireplace. Now that fireplace has a bunch of different settings. You can turn it on just to show lighting. You can turn on the fan to move some air around. You can turn on the heat on it to put some heat into the unit. These are great for, especially when you're plugged in at a campground where you can, in the morning, where you don't really want to turn the furnace on yet. Just to take the chill out, you turn that on for a couple of minutes of heat, and then it'll heat up the unit just what you need it. On the very top, you've got your radio and DVD player, so it's hooked up to the TV and to the speakers in the unit, both in the ceiling in the unit here, inside, and the outside speakers. There's 2 zones on it. One zone will be the inside, one zone will be the outside. You can run together or one or the other, depending on if you're just listening to music. And then again, like I said, it's hooked up to your TV, so if you're watching a movie, you can have the audio through the speakers. Turning on the very end of the trailer here, you've got, again, this trailer is about space on this area of it, plus the entertainment options. So big couch here with nice windows at the back and lighting, plugs around there, and then you got your recliners on the other side of the unit that cross from the TV. And then one last thing to follow at the end of the slide box here is your dinette. So it has a collapsible table that just slides and rotates down and rests on these devices here. And then you can fold the cushions down into a bed. The lighting in the dinette is controlled by that switch there. and the manual one here. You can turn those on and off. And then you've got USB chargers both in each corner, so that corner and the corner down there. The last thing to go over in this unit is the fridge, and it's just on this end here. So it's a big fridge. You've got your main fridge area, and you've got your freezer on top. To operate the fridge, your buttons are in the freezer. So when you're ready to turn the fridge on, you put the on button. And then right now this is set to auto. So if I wanted to run just on gas, I'd make that button go out, and then the auto goes on, and now I'm going to try and run on gas. And that way then the fridge is going to try and ignite. That's really for a good way to keep your fridge cool when you're traveling, keep your propane on and run your fridge. Now we always say just run it on auto, because it will attempt to run on electricity first and then default to gas secondary. So if you're plugged in, it's just going to keep running on electricity, and then when you move, it'll switch it over to gas, and then turn on and off the whole unit is just the on off button there. The temperature setting of the fridge is controlled in here. You have a little sliding sensor right here. This plastic thing will slide up to be colder, or down to be warmer. So we say start in the middle of of the fridge, or of the setting there. And if you find you need a little bit cooler, then push it up. If you find a little bit warmer, push it down. Now that sensor is just attached by a plastic clip. So if you find like your fridge isn't responding to that, maybe the sensor might just loosens itself off the back, and you just pull that out, reconnect the sensor, put it back on the fin there, and it should be good to go. So that is your fridge, and that concludes the tour of the 2021 Premier 30RI. If we haven't covered anything, just give us a call and we'll be able to answer those questions. Thank you.